Well, hello there and welcome to our Zoom launch for our Advent calendar. It's absolutely wonderful to see so many lovely faces, both near and far. A few of you just down the road and others have come in from further afield. It's wonderful to be with you. Sorry for the slight delay. There's quite a few people who've not yet logged on, but we'll begin because we said that we'd make a prompt start. And of course, people can watch the recording because we will upload that later on. We're really excited to be launching our online Advent calendar. And in this short time together, we're going to be giving you more details about it and also just a bit about the practicalities of how you can access it. You're very welcome to share it with your friends and others that you know and who might be interested. But we want to say a special welcome to you and then also to Carol and Stewart Henderson. If you can give us a wave. They're in another highlighted box. You should be able to see them and us. And Carol and Stewart, it's wonderful to have you with us, beaming in from our capital city. Some of you will remember that Carol and Stewart gave a fantastic creative input for our harvest events back in the autumn. Carol is a writer, she's a broadcaster and also an apprentice iconographer. And Stewart is a poet, songwriter and broadcaster. And actually, if you want to see and we'll hear more of Stewart, he's going to be on Radio 4 Pick of the Week on next Sunday at 6:15 p.m. Little plug there. It's wonderful to have them with us.
So welcome to a different style of Advent calendar as we move towards a different style of Christmas. Advent, well, it's the start of a word adventure. A season, whether with chocolates or not, many people start to anticipate Christmas. And how do we do that this year? Well, maybe like us, you've been lighting a candle. It's a good way of remembering and giving thanks for all the good things that we've been given, all the gifts of friends and family. For Christians, it's also been the time when we think about Jesus's promise that he will come again. So our calendar this year has a photo for each day and a thought for each day and with music that we've been recording. There's going to be a cover page each week with a special focus within our light theme. And the last page for each week has extra material and longer readings for those of you who like to enjoy that.
It's been a real team effort putting this together, and we're so grateful for the technology that, of course, makes this all magically happen that I don't really have an awful lot to do with. Thank you, Andy, for your input with it. But grateful too to so many people and many of you here today who've sent photos. Thank you for your contributions. We've tried to include something from everybody and we really hope that you enjoy seeing them. We need to send a special hello and thanks to Mike Kendrick and all the lovely teenagers from Wild Shots Outreach who are based at Kruger National Park in South Africa. We felt that it was so relevant to include photos from a conservation project because, of course, there's a huge environmental challenge facing our world. WSO are inspiring in their approach. Danes, please do check out their website, and if you want to make a donation to them, you'll find the links to do that there too. And lastly, there's photos, there's thought for the day, and then there's instrumental music that we've been recording for each week, something for each week. And this week there's 2 pieces of jazz. We hope you enjoy the lively feel to that. But next week and week 3, there's some classical input and then jazz carols for week 4. I need to say a really big thanks to Simeon for his saxophone, improv, it's beautiful. And also to our lovely friend Liz Maycock, who I've known for many years, for her violin playing, which you'll hear in week 3. It's been wonderful to work together. And of course, I've really enjoyed playing along on the keys as well. We hope you enjoy it. And just a thought, reflecting doesn't always have to be with quiet, slow music, although some of it definitely will be slow and quiet. And so after all that information, we just take a brief pause and think about the gift of light. I wonder, as you look around your room, if there's a favourite light that you can see. Whether you saw the sun come up this morning, or perhaps some stars and the moon last night. It's so much part of our life, isn't it? We can't live without it. And now we're going to share Carol's wonderful poem, Unimaginable Light. Sit back, you're in for an absolute treat.
At the best time, a young girl was visited by the breath of God himself, and the word became a seed of earthly life. From unimaginable light into total darkness, from boundless spaciousness into the minuscule seed of conception. Hands, which had shaped mountains and humming birds, blazed the sun into place and poured the waters into spaces for whales to play, now smaller than the naked eye could see. Eyes which numbered the stars, the sparrows, and the hairs on all our heads, now sightless and entrusted to Mary's womb. Strength greater than nuclear fission, now subdued into the vulnerable tabernacle of flesh, potential prey to disease and miscarriage. Ears which had heard the indescribable melodies of the morning stars singing together and the good ideas of God, now listening to the whispers of condemnation and judgment. This something, only something, of the suffering love of God to become like one of us.
Thank you, Carol. Your poem has given us food for thought already this afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing it with us and the beautiful music that went with it as well. Carol has also contributed to our calendar, the beautiful picture that you've seen coming up now of her icon. She's training as an apprentice iconographer, and her picture of Mary and baby Jesus is going to be our picture for Christmas Eve. I've given it away. But Carol, it's wonderful that you've made it possible for us to share this. And I'm just thinking that icons may be new for people in our audience today. And I just wondered if you would be happy to share a little bit about how you first became involved with what is an amazing process, and what drew you to it.
I'd love to. It was something totally outside my experience or ken. I grew up, I knew nothing about icons. But in the range of different things I was involved with, for example, I used to go out on a soup run in the early hours of the morning, taking homemade soup to meth drinkers during the winter who were sleeping on bomb sites and on pavements, and their one mug of soup might be the means of keeping them alive. And it was during that time that I began thinking, how can we communicate the big things of life and about the love of God? And then there's a gap of years and years, and then years later, I attended a talk about icons, and I went simply to support the speaker, wanting them to feel supported and not thinking I'd be very interested. And he was our new rector at the time, and he was talking about how icons can help us reflect about the things of God. And for the first time, I thought, I found something that's both beautiful and useful. I've always wanted those twin things in my life. And because this was designed for people who were illiterate, and even for the blind people, icons were made that were raised so that blind people could feel the shape of the icon. And that's why the tradition that I paint with, which is the Byzantine one, meant the colors meant certain things. So Gabriel was always a mixture of blue and green, and people could recognize which person was being depicted in the story.
That's wonderful. And could you tell us a little bit more about the steps? Because it's a long process painting an icon, I understand.
It is, especially the way that I'm learning to do it, which is the old Byzantine way, when all they had was wine, eggs, and natural pigments. All the processes are used are natural in the way to echo the way humans are made in this miracle of life, and especially as we're thinking about the baby Jesus at the moment. And you start with a thick piece of wood that is made as perfect as possible, usually a piece of poplar wood, and it's sanded down so it's smooth, and then a wonderful mixture of chalk dust and marble dust is mixed with rabbit skin glue, and spread on the board in layers and layers and layers till you get a shining white hard surface.
Wow.
And that's what you start with. And then you gradually etch the image on that you're going to be painting, so that the colors, you have to keep it very flat, otherwise the colors will run. The egg yolk and wine are very runny. And for instance, for this particular icon, Mary's robe has got crushed lapis lazuli to make that beautiful blue. So it's all natural things, and it takes layer after layer after layer. There are about 20 layers, and each has to dry in between.
Thank you. I love the thought that it's natural things that you use in the production. And how long did it take to make this one? Can you remember?
Well, this one took me about 6 months, not least because I'm still very much an apprentice. So I need a master iconographer to be ready to lean over my shoulder. The most wonderful thing about this type of iconography, it's incredibly forgiving. I make a big blob of the wrong color pigment in the wrong place, and we use squirrel hair brushes because they're incredibly docile. Sable hair brushes, the artists who are here today will know that they can have a little flick at the end, whereas a squirrel hair brush will pick up the pigment like a lovely drop, and just wherever you put it, it will put it, and it won't do that little flick at the end. So it's just takes a while. You then have to wait for things to dry, and every layer has a particular meaning. It's called something different, and the lines are called naming. You're naming the characters in the icon, right up until you do what's called the final touch, which is the enlivening, which is the little tiny flicks you see around Mary's eyes and elsewhere on her hands, and on the baby Christ. And that's the indication that the Holy Spirit is present to give life.
Absolutely amazing process. And that I didn't know that about squirrel hair, that it could be used for a brush.
It's a wonderful brush, but it doesn't last very long. It's very soft.
Yeah. And Carol, just very lastly, if people are new to looking at an icon, have you got a suggestion for how they might like to do that?
Yes, I think not to be afraid of it. Icons are often done in the old style, which is called a reverse perspective. You know, if I was drawing, I was standing myself on a pier out into the water, the top of the pier would be small.
Yeah.
In iconography, it's the other way round, so that the top of the pier would be, as it were, bigger, and my end would be smaller. And that's just a beautiful reminder that God is always present, always longing to support and to help. And the gift of his Son was simply to underline that. So the reverse perspective, that's why it might look a bit odd to your eyes. And then the gold in the old icons, I use real 24-karat leaf gold, which is laid on an earth background to make the halo that Mary is wearing, for example, and the baby Christ. And that's laid on an earth mix. And how it sticks is simply with your own breath, as an image of God breathing into the world to bring creation out of chaos. I've gone on long enough. I'm sorry if I did. I just love doing it. I've got my jingly necklace on.
Brilliant.
Brilliant. Thank you, Carol.
My pleasure. Lovely to be with you all.
Thank you.
It's amazing just to think, as we're looking at that image before us, just also pause and realize just the richness of time and creativity and energy that's gone into it.
And you're praying at each point. There are special liturgies we say, so it's an incredibly reflective process, and that's lovely too.
Thank you, Carol.
My pleasure.
That's what we're trying to do through this season, is have ways, and it'll be different for each of us, but are ways that help us to pause and to reflect on these images, and also the photos and other things we'll look at. The words are ways of slowing us down so we begin to notice. And we need to hold on to some of those things that Carol's just been sharing with us. It's a way of appreciating what's there, and maybe just giving us a glimpse of God at work. Now, of course, we've got the calendar which is coming up, and I need to talk about the practicalities of how to engage it. And so hopefully I've got something here. So this is the brief instructions. So we're getting practical on the instructions. And basically there's two ways we put it, or three ways there. Weekly, some people like to have all the images for a week and then like to work them through at your own pace. And that's fine. There's going to be music as well. Others like to do something every day. Every day, just pause for a few minutes, watch the images, listen to the music. And that's fine. Other people, of course, would like to talk. And having a Zoom call like this and not being able to talk will be frustrating one or two of you. So we have a group on a Tuesday evening, which Tim is organising, so that there's actually a chance to talk together. But just a brief introduction. If you're familiar with Facebook and YouTube, then it'll be straightforward. If it's not, this is my quick guide to you. So on Facebook, if you found your way to the All Saints Church Community Facebook page, the details of which are on the screen. Then you go there and you look for the post which says Advent Light Calendar, and it's week 1, which is being posted automatically in about 5 minutes' time, so it will appear. And all you have to do is find that one, which will look something like that on the screen. And if you notice, it's got says OneDrive Advent Calendar Week 1. It's a link. You click on that. So find the Facebook page, find the post, and click on the link. And then it will start. Okay, so not too complicated, I hope. And it's going to be opened in PowerPoint online. So if you haven't got it on your computer, don't worry. It should still open. And it should start automatically. So you should see something for the first week like what you see on the screen. If you don't see that, there is a little thing that says Start Slideshow at the top right, but it should all start automatically. And then once it's started, this is the weekly thing, so you get all the slides, and all you have to do is use the arrow keys left and right to go through them. So once you found Facebook, you found the post, you clicked on the link, and then use the arrow keys. The music should start a few seconds into it. So you can listen to the music, you can go to the slides that you want. So you can spend a few minutes with one slide or 2 slides. Try not to do too much at once. You know, it's not a competition to get through as many as you can, but it gives you the option of using whichever slides you want during that week. So that's the first way on Facebook. The second way is on YouTube, which you might have come across our All Saints Church YouTube channel because we had worship on there over the summer. And if you get to the page for which the link is on the screen, then it shows you a list of all the videos with hopefully the most recent one at the left. So hopefully at the left, you'll see today's video, and you just click on it and it will start. Okay, so you go to the YouTube page and click on the video. Should be simple. And that is a video, so you can't use the arrow keys. You sit and you listen for about 4 minutes. It shows you the first and second slides to give you a background, and then launches into the image for the day.
And it's updated every day, that one.
So every day a new one will appear. It's automatically there at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not up at 6, but it will happen at 6. So for those of you who get up early, you can watch it. YouTube also has, for those who want to look into it, it also has playlists. So if you want to see all the days, if you want to go back to one in particular, you can click on playlists and then look at the full playlist, and then that will list everyone. So that's hopefully you can access it one way or the other, or let's send a message if there's any problems.
And the calendar will keep going up till Boxing Day. There's a new picture every day, right up till Boxing Day. And we hope you enjoy them. Each week has a slightly different theme going alongside light. This week is creation. We'll leave you to find and discover the rest. But obviously the week with Christmas in has all sorts of the Christmas stories in there. And just a few thoughts. Once you've negotiated whatever sort of media you're using, you might find that it's good to say that you'll sit in the same place and give yourself a few minutes either side of just real quiet. Some of us don't have the luxury of lots of time for doing that, or perhaps we've got a really noisy home. But if you can find a way to be quiet after or before, it might just mean that you're a bit more able to reflect on the words that you read and just enjoy the experience a bit more. You might also want to light your own candle or put a nice light on, like Stewart and Carol have got their little light at the edge of their desk today. It's up to you really, but you can make it a bit of a special moment in your day. And what about for some of us who like to take a little note, have a notebook that you can jot ideas down as they come to you while you're having a look. You might like to say a prayer if you're a person that regularly prays, and just say, please God, bring your light to me today. A few thoughts for you there. You might well think of some others. And of course, you know, if the music isn't your thing, don't worry. Another week it might be.
So with different ways of slowing down during Advent and allowing some of the light to become not just things we talk about, something we know in our hearts. That's what the aim of this is, and the best way for you is the best way for you. I mean, we'll all be different, but there's something of that light and that hope that's promised to each one of us. And we've been inspired by the icons, by the photos, and also inspired by the words. And particularly, we may remember that special harvest poem that Stewart wrote for us here just only a couple of months ago. Well, we've got another poem now that brings something of the Christmas story, the Magnificat, into being. Stewart.
Thank you, Andy. My soul magnifies the poor, the sore, the raw, and my spirit rejoices in God, my downcast, my outcast, my twig bone wrong cast. For he regards the low estate, the no-go estate, the empty plate, and squats there with those generations. For at whose name the cosmos shakes and canyons quake, sought sanctuary within a womb, a young girl's chaste unopened room, a sparse unblemished catacomb, and holy is he amongst the lame. His mercy is on those who fear him, hear him, those near him, in desert flapping bivouac or dehydrated barrio. The night sky rolled out by his arm. The preening proud ignore his balm and slink towards the warlock charm of their small ambitions. And those on thrones end up alone, replaced by fly-pecked innocence. He only eats with the hungry, and if they don't, he too refrains. And as for the rich, a table cannot be found for them. My soul magnifies the poor, the sore, the raw, and my spirit rejoices in God, my outcast.
us now and make your home with us. Come to us in the people we meet. Come to us in the beauty of the world. Come to us in our joys and in our sorrows. Come to us in our Advent light reflections. Come and make yourself known to us. Come, bring light to our families and friends. Come, grant wisdom to our leaders. Come and guide us in truth and peace, today, tomorrow, and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for joining us. You might be glad to know, like we were, that Stewart's written another poem that we're going to be using this week with our creation theme. So do look out for that. Stewart, thank you. The whole poem is included after day 7. So you can go and have a look on YouTube and Facebook later today, because today and all that beginning material will be there for you to enjoy. And as we said before, please feel free to share it with your friends if you'd like to. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope you have things that bring a smile to you this Advent from what we have sought to share with you. We're going to be finishing now. I think there's a few more slides and a little taster of the jazz that we've got for this week. All the best. Thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to see you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
you.
those who've put the links on the chat as well.
Thank you, and thank you to Stewart and Carol.
Yeah.
Our pleasure.